What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk a little bit about Destined Rivals and some other sets, just because Destined Rivals, the booster box is up to $400. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this discussion on other channels. I think we do have sales exactly there, right at $400. And that was from today. These are all from today, $390, $400, $398. It's a legit $400 box at this point on TCG Player. Pal Day Evolved is basically $500 as well. You have a couple sales around 475, 480, 490, but we have sales right there from a couple days ago. And it's crazy how fast some of these are moving up. I was clearly wrong about Destined Rivals. I didn't feel comfortable buying this around $250. I think Destined Rivals is a great set. I just did not expect it to jump up to $400 a couple months after release. So props to you guys if you stacked up around that price point and you're now enjoying the huge gains you've seen over the past 60 days or so. Now, before we go any further, I did want to jump in here and give a shout out to today's video sponsor, the Shiny app. You guys already know Shiny is a mobile app that helps you track your Pokemon investments and collection, whether that's English, Japanese, or simplified Chinese. They also cover other games like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic, One Piece, Disney Lorcana, Sorcery, and now Gundam. In my opinion, it's the best user experience out there in terms of the mobile apps for your collection. And I love that Shiny is also trying to update their data more frequently than everybody else. They're updating twice a day from places like TCG Player, eBay, Card Market, and price charting. And the best part about the app is that it's absolutely free. So I'll leave links to the Google Play and App Store in the description and pin comment down below. And thank you to Shiny for sponsoring the video. The discussion I want to have today is just a little bit of a theory crafting video, I guess you could say, about what Pokemon is going to do. So we all know back in like December, January, when there's a huge rise in popularity and demand for the cards, Pokemon put out their statement. They said they were going to print Prismatic and some of these other sets moving forward into the ground at max capacity, I think were their exact words. And that's great if that's what they want to do to try and combat scalping and other things going on in the hobby. Awesome. But the discussion today now becomes, with investor money coming into the hobby, Wall Street Journal writing articles, we're really becoming institutionalized in a sense when it comes to investing into TCGs and Pokemon specifically. So the question is, what is Pokemon going to do in response to this? Because Pokemon, at least in my opinion, is a company that does care about their image. They do care about the players. They do care about the people that want to just open packs and enjoy the hobby. And I'm not saying I know the exact figures on any sort of print runs that they're doing, but say the market cap for Destined Rivals booster boxes is 50 million or 100 million. It might be more or less than that, whatever, right? But it gets to a point where, with institutional money coming into the hobby, that could potentially buy out basically the entire market share of that and it not be a big deal. What is Pokemon going to do in response? Because they're clearly going to have to do something. A booster box that has an MSRP of $162, basically a couple months after release being $400, probably doesn't sit well in their eyes. And my guess is that they are going to print Destined into the ground, similar to what they've been trying to do with Prismatic Evolutions. They also did a decent job with Surging Sparks, probably not to the extent that they would have liked, but I do think that they are going to try and print Destined Rivals much more in the future. Now, is that going to be enough? I honestly don't know, and we're going to wait and see. But if they're unable to bring the price down substantially on Destined Rivals, I really don't know what they're going to do at that point. They're going to have to figure something out, because you guys know I do invest in One Piece, and I'm already talking to people on basically a weekly basis at this point that are moving from Pokemon over to One Piece and other TCGs because Pokemon is just way too expensive to open and it's difficult to find for the average person. I talk to people in my hometown, for us, like, you really just have to go to Walmart or order online. So it's very difficult to find product. And I think people are just getting to a point where they're just fed up. They just don't want to deal with Pokemon anymore, especially if they're just the casual hobbyist. And that's understandable, right? It makes sense when a year ago they could walk into a Walmart, they could buy whatever they wanted, they could pay MSRP, you could find stuff cheaper online, it wasn't a huge deal. And now we have people waiting in a virtual queue on the Pokemon Center for multiple hours over multiple days because the drop doesn't come, just to try and get one booster box or one Pokemon Center PCTB or whatever it is, right? So I'm already seeing it take place. I'm already seeing people leave the hobby, and hopefully this video doesn't come off as me being super bearish on Pokemon, because I'm still very much invested in Pokemon. I think it's still a very strong IP and doing great. But I am just starting to question what the next step is for Pokemon and what that's going to mean for investors. Personally, I'm happy that I still have a ton of Sword and Shield. I know I don't have any Sun and Moon, but a lot of my Sword and Shield is stuff that I'm still confident in. Obviously, we're probably not going to get any more of any of those sets, even up to Crown Zenith. Whereas with Scarlet and Violet era, I'm even starting to question if Pokemon might even extend print runs for an extra year or something. The discussion for a very long period of time is that when things go out of rotation, Pokemon stops printing it, but they can change the rules at any time. And with what we've seen in the hobby over the past 10 months at this point, 11 months, is that we're now in uncharted territory. So it would make sense if Pokemon decides to change the rules and do things that they haven't done before in terms of printing product. Now, I know that this was probably not the most interesting thing for some of you guys, so I do want to give you a little bit of value as well. We're going to look at PCTBs here quickly. Prismatic Evolutions PCTBs up about 34% over the past month. You guys would think that's a pretty decent return for a month. I mean, that's awesome. Destined Rivals, though, almost 39%. These are up to around $350 at this point, $370 most recent sale from today. But that's not the highest either. Paldea Evolved up 47%, sitting around $550. Realistically, this should be a lot higher. The most recent sales, $700 from September 10th. But that's not the highest either, guys. Surging Sparks up 51.59%, around $300 at this point, and recent sales pushing $310 over the past 48 hours. Paldea and Fates, as you guys know, up over $500 at this point. This makes a lot more sense to me where it is now. This is about a 63% return over the past month. But there is one box that has done better than all of these. And if you guys can guess, congratulations. It is Shrouded Fable, up 100.3% over the past 28 days on TCG Player, sitting around $198. Now, recent sales are a little bit lower, around 170, 175, but Shrouded Fable PCTBs, who would have thought in 2025 we would have a $200 Shrouded Fable Elite Trainer box? That is just wild to say. And I know yesterday was also Friday. I didn't upload a video, but the ETB update, the regular one, was done in the spreadsheet, so you can go look at all the numbers if you're in there. Really, the only ETBs to talk about right now are 151, Paldea and Fates, and Crown Zenith. These are all still in a range where I think they're going to continue moving up. Also, Prismatic is holding fairly strong. If I can open this here, sitting around $111 on TCG Player. Just crazy. We're already starting to see this rebound. There still are a decent quantity of boxes on the secondary market. But the sell-through rate, the sales volume is just so high still that I do feel confident saying that this box is probably going to be closer to like $130, $140 again by the end of the year if we don't get more on the market and if we don't get more Prismatic reprints before then. Now, Celebrations, it's also still in a range where it's moving back up. We did see a fairly significant sell-off when this ETB was hitting around $270, $280-ish dollars. I still think we're probably like a month or two away from this box being back to that range, but it is moving in the right direction. Same thing with Hidden Fates, slowly moving back up. The sales volume was down this week. And then the final four sets, Champion's Path, Shining Fates, Pokemon Go, and Shrouded Fable, the regular ETB. These four sets really aren't worth talking about. A lot of these still are dead money, especially Shining Fates and Champion's Path. They are getting closer to making a fairly large move, in my opinion. I mean, they're moving up over time, but we just haven't seen anything crazy with them. And that's kind of the reality when some of these ETBs, there's like 2 to 4, maybe even 600 on the market below like a 20% increase from TCG Player price. But that's going to be it for the video. You guys let me know in the comments down below what you think. If you got some value out of this, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below for the algorithm. It helps out a ton. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.